The chairman confesses his original plan was to transfer his real brain into Sang-hoon to achieve immortality, but in the end, he copied it instead because he didn't dare to live inside a machine, which would never stop feeling fake. Seo-hyun doesn't care how fake it may be. She wants to continue with her mother's project, but the chairman turns down her request. A few hours later, the team goes back to work, since the project must be wrapped up properly before they change goals. Jung-E keeps dying at the same spot, and Sang-hoon becomes furious, because they can't activate that new brain area again to isolate it. So he thinks it's time for some extreme ideas. Sang-hoon makes the team activate the android and cut her arm. Thus Seo-hyun has to watch her suffer as the pain area of her brain reaches intense levels. The new brain area still won't light up though, and a desperate Sang-hoon tries to shoot the android's legs to match the wound from the other day. Seo-hyun finally snaps and turns the system off to stop Jung-E's suffering, causing an enraged Sang-hoon to threaten her with his gun. This isn't enough to scare Seo-hyun and she stands her ground. But before Sang-hoon can go too far, another employee comes to inform him the chairman wants to see him. Sang-hoon leaves without a word, and Seo-hyun thanks her team for all their work. It's time to shut down the project, but she asks them to assemble all the data they've collected and send it to her. Sometime later, Seo-hyun ignores the pain she's feeling in her lungs and concentrates on looking at the data. To her surprise, someone has exported her mother's brain one last time without her knowing. Seo-hyun goes to investigate, and when she walks by Jae-kyung's room, she hears some naughty noises and makes her way inside. What she finds there, it's pretty disturbing. Jae-kyung had been getting frisky, with a new android designed to do dirty deeds, but still wearing Jung-hee's face. After covering the android with a blanket, a furious Seo-hyun pushes Jae-kyung against the shelves and insults him for being a pervert, but Jae-kyung explains he was just following orders. It turns out that making household AIs includes creating companions capable of intimacy, and since Jung-e was so popular, people would pay big money to have her as their girlfriend. After all, Jung-e's persona is type C, meaning she can be used by anyone. Devastated by the news, Seo-hyun leaves the room in tears, realizing how she should have seen this coming when they gifted her an action figure of her own dead mother. A moment later, Seo-hyun is back in the lab to spend time with the android before the project is taken away. Sang-hoon is already there, suffering from depression because he thinks he lost the chairman's trust and that's why their project got cancelled. Seo-hyun ignores him and enters the android chamber, waking her up after shutting down the pain sensors. Once she has Jung-e's attention, Seo-hyun tells her they've rescued her from the enemy and that she's greatly wounded. Thus she'll help her die peacefully. When Seo-hyun is about to turn her off, the brain area they had been looking for finally lights up again as Jung-e asks if her daughter survived the surgery. Seo-hyun begins crying as she realizes both times this brain area reacted because Jung-e believed she would die without knowing about her daughter, and she tells her the surgery was a successful so she can move on in peace. Jung-e is relieved to hear this, and she admits she's been feeling guilty because during the battle, she lost the little doll her daughter gifted her before leaving for the surgery, which was supposed to be a good luck charm. That's why she always loses at the same spot. What distracts her is seeing the little doll in the car and being haunted by the guilt. Not being able to hear this anymore, Seo-hyun turns her off and has a full breakdown, screaming with her own guilt. Once that's out of her chest, she realizes there's one last thing she can do. The next day, Seo-hyun requests to do a last simulation before shutting things down. She tells the other team members she'll set things up alone. And once they're gone, Seo-hyun deletes the unidentified part of Jung-e's brain. Then she proceeds to whisper in her ear, explaining all the nasty things that will happen to her after the last simulation is over if they don't do something. When the final simulation starts, Jung-e goes through the usual battle tactics and dies in the same spot as usual. Jo-kyung detects some weird readings indicating the brain's response was weaker, but Sang-hoon doesn't care because the project is over anyway. The other employees take the android away, and Sang-hoon begins making his way to his room when he suddenly realizes he also saw something strange. He rushes back to the lab and asks for the simulation to be replayed in slow motion. This allows him to confirm Jung-e hadn't actually been shot. She only pretended she had and fell on the usual spot. Sang-hoon immediately activates the alarm and Jung-e reacts by knocking out the employees that were taking her away. While everyone gets ready for emergency measures, Seo Hyun runs back into the lab and deletes all the original project data. Jung-E searches for a way to escape and comes across a room filled with dozens of robots that look like her. Before she can come to terms with this, Sang-hoon's army of security robots finds her, triggering a vicious fight. Jung-E is a legendary fighter for a reason though, and she easily beats them all. Even when a robot pushes her against a maintenance machine, she takes the chance to turn it against her attacker. Suddenly, one of the robots takes advantage of her blind spot and kicks her from behind before pushing her against the wall to kill her. At that moment, Seo Hyun finally shows up and disables the robot just in time. Then she tells Jung-E they're in this together, and Jung-E trusts her because it's the voice from her dreams. Minutes later, a new wave of security robots arrive at the hangar, and they allow a fellow android to take Seo Hyun away before they shoot at Jung-E. However, when they check on the body, they discover Jung-E's body is empty. Checking the security cameras reveals Seo Hyun took the brain copy from the regular body and transferred it to a security android to escape unnoticed, leaving the body with her mother's face behind to trick security. Seo Hyun drags Jung-E into the train, only to discover it isn't as empty as she thought. Sang-hoon is there waiting for them. As the train takes off, Sang-hoon accuses Seo Hyun of being ungrateful for everything the chairman done for her and tells Jung-E to step away from her daughter. Hearing this, her little girl shocks Jung-E, but Seo Hyun cuts in to explain she's deleted all the data about herself from her memory, so she can have a fresh start without any more sacrifices. As revenge for ruining the project, Sang-hoon shoots Seo Hyun in the shoulder, prompting Jung-E to attack him in return and shoot him with his own gun. Sang-hoon quickly stands up to keep on fighting, but freezes when he sees his reflection in the window. The damage from the shot has revealed his identity as an android. Seo Hyun calls him the chairman's little toy, and this makes Sang-hoon go crazy. Now he can activate the abilities of his android body, and Sang-hoon attacks Jung-E, starting the fight that throws their bodies all over the cabin and causes the train to shake on the rails. After exchanging a few hits, Sang-hoon manages to push Jung-E through the window, but she lets go on purpose to crawl around the train and re-enter it through a different window. At that moment, more security robots arrive on a parallel train and they attach both wagons together. They come after Jung-E by jumping through the windows too, but Jung-E has no trouble defeating them all with precise strikes. Sang-hoon takes advantage of this distraction to catch her with a hook, and when Seo Hyun sees her mother in trouble, she tries to stop the robot from attacking her. The robot simply pushes Seo Hyun away, but seeing her daughter in danger inspires Jung-E to become more aggressive. She destroys all the remaining robots and kicks Sang-hoon out of the train, but he manages to make his way back inside by holding onto the hook. As Sang-hoon and Jung-E begin fighting again, the train makes it to the city, and the shaking of two attached wagons becomes too much for the tracks to bear. Seo Hyun manages to put her hands on one of the weapons the robots dropped and shoots a hook for Jung-E to grab. This way she helps her mother return to the first wagon safely, and they let the second wagon fall with Sang-hoon inside. The train finally stops working when it makes it to the mountain area. Jung-E wants to take care of Seo Hyun's wound, but they can hear the police approaching. So Seo Hyun explains she doesn't have much time left anyway. She wants Jung-E to run away and start a new life where she can finally worry about herself instead of her daughter. After some hesitation, Jung-E accepts this plan, but first she says goodbye by hugging Seo Hyun and giving her a lucky cheek rub like when she was a child. As Jung-E leaves the train, wishes her good luck, dies alone yet feeling she's achieved closure. Jung-E runs through the mountains, away from any humans that may want to use her again to enjoy her newfound freedom. Hope you like it and subscribe. Comment a movie name for next explanation.